One of the very important events of the Day of Judgment is what is called in Arabic an-nafkhu fi s-sur, blowing into the trumpet or the horn. Several verses in the Holy Quran discuss this significant event. Now, before we examine what exactly is this trumpet that will be blown into, it's very important to note that we human beings, we know very little about this universe and how it works. We don't know the hidden dimensions of the universe. The Quran states, يَعْلَمُونَ ظَاهِرًا مِنَ الْحَيَاةِ الدُّنْيَا. People just look at the appearance, that's all. They only know the surface of this life. So we cannot grasp the events that will happen in totality. We may have a glimpse of them, but we may not be able to fully grasp them. It's just like an infant in the womb of its mother. Does this infant really know what's out there in the world? Does the infant even have the capacity during the first day to know what this life is all about? Of course not, because the infant is limited to a very small world. Then it begins to experience the bigger world. Same thing here. We right now have very little capacity to experience the akhirah. So keep that in mind as we discuss some of these hadiths about blowing into the trumpet. Because some people conceive of a physical trumpet, like an angel holding a horn and blowing into it. That's not really how it is. It's much more than that. Believing in the trumpet is a sign of faith. It's mandatory because the Holy Quran clearly discusses it. So a believer cannot be a believer without believing in this event, and that it is haqq and it will happen. Yes, basically, maybe we don't know about the details of the event, but to believe in it is a part of faith. Rejecting it or not believing in it amounts to rejecting the Quran, amounts to falsifying the verses of the Holy Quran. So let's start with the main verse that discusses an-nafkhu fi s-sur and have a discussion on it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala states in Surah Az-Zumar, verse 68, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, وَنُفِخَ فِي الصُّورِ. On that day, it will be blown into the trumpet. فَصَعِقَ مَنْ فِي السَّمَاوَاتِ وَمَنْ فِي الْأَرْضِ. Everything in the heavens, in the skies, in the universe, and everything on earth will sa'iq. Sa'iq in Arabic basically means when something dies or when something is stricken so hard such that it loses consciousness. This is sa'iq. Physically, we can also refer to being electrocuted. Like physically, if someone is electrocuted through electricity or like a lightning bolt, that severe shock, we also use the word sa'iq to talk about that. Sa'iqathu sa'iqa. Lightning striking someone. So it's something that shocks you, that could kill or cause you to lose consciousness. So the Quran tells us that the trumpet will be blown into. Then Allah makes an exception. We'll talk about the exception. إِلَّا مَنْ شَاءَ اللَّهِ. So everyone will die except those whom Allah chooses. That's the first nafkh, the first time. The same verse tells us there's a second nafkh, a second event of blowing into the trumpet. ثُمَّ نُفَخَ فِيهِ أُخْرَى. Then again, that trumpet is blown into. فَإِذَا هُمْ قِيَامٌ يَنْظُرُونَ. You see everyone rising. So the first blow kills everyone. The second blow revives everyone. That's the basic idea here. So this verse is very clear that we have two instances of the trumpet being blown into. What is the time duration between the first blow and the second? The Quran says thumma. In saying that the second blow came, the Quran doesn't say wanufikha, second time. It says thumma. What's the difference between wow and the thumma? They both mean and. So we have the wow, which is general, and it could be now, it could be tomorrow, it could be 10 years from now. We have the fa. See, you could say Ja'a Zaydun fa'amrun. Zayd came, then Amr. The fa means shortly thereafter, without a gap. Thumma indicates a gap. If I say Ja'a Zaydun, Zayd came, thumma Amrun, then Amr. What's the difference now between thumma and the fa? The gap and the time. Thumma means some time lapsed before he came. Whereas if you say the fa, it means shortly thereafter. See, that's how specific the Arabic language is. If you say Ja'a Zaydun, Zayd came, fa'amrun, then Amr, that means quickly after. But if you say Ja'a Zaydun thumma Amr, that means some time lapsed. In describing the second nafkha fi sur, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says thumma. That means there's a lapse. We have hadiths that tell us this gap is 40 years. Another hadith says 400 years. Is there a discrepancy between these two? One says 40, one says 400. Is that a contradiction? See, the Holy Quran tells us the day of judgment, one day there is equivalent to 50,000 years. Another verse says 1,000 years. Is that a contradiction? What do we know about time that Einstein scientifically discovered it? It's relative. Time is relative. What's your point of view? What's the standard that you're going by? Is it 40 years, heavenly years, earthly years? What kind of years? Even in the solar system, it depends on the movement. How fast the movement is will determine the rate of time, the speed of time. So there's no contradiction between 40 and 400. It just basically means a long time. Now, it could be 40 earth years and 400 heavenly years, or the opposite. 400 earth years, 40 heavenly years, Allah knows. But it's quite a gap.
Can you remind me, Sayyidah, what verse that was?
This is Surah Al-Zumar, verse 68. We have other verses about the sur, but this one mentions it twice. Now, what is the linguistic meaning of sur in Arabic? Because one of the names that the Quran uses for this trumpet is the sur. Sur in Arabic, linguistically, originally, is the horn that is made from the horn of an ox. Have you seen the horn of an ox? When it's taken and it's made hollow such that you can blow into it, they would use it at the time of the Arabs, at the time of the Quran. This was used when a caravan would want to move or stop. There was someone who would blow into the horn to make an announcement that the caravan is moving. Or it would also be used in the army. When they want to make the soldiers, let's say, go on the move, they would blow into the horn. This is called sur in the Arabic language. Originally, it was made from the horn of an ox. There's another word that Allah uses in the Holy Quran for the trumpet, Naqur. فَإِذَا نُقِرَ فِي النَّاقُورِ. So there are a number of words that the Quran uses to describe this trumpet. Another word for this event is a Sayha, the severe, loud call. In Arabic, when you yell, it's called Sayha. It's something with a very, very strong sound to it that moves you. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala states in the Holy Quran, مَا يَنظُرُونَ إِلَّا صَيْحَةً وَاحِدَةً تَأْخُذُهُمْ وَهُمْ يَخِصِّمُونَ. That's in Surah Yasin. Allah says, you'll see them, suddenly the sayha, this loud cry will take them when they're arguing and fighting. So, 3 names have been used in the Holy Quran to refer to this trumpet, to this event of the horn being blown into. Number 1 is sur, number 2 is naqur, number 3 is sayha. We have other terms, but these are the main terms. Let's read some other verses about the sur before we have a deeper discussion on what it is. In Surah An-Naml, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala states, وَيَوْمَ يُنْفَخُ فِي الصُّورِ فَفَزِعَ مَنْ فِي السَّمَاوَاتِ وَمَنْ فِي الْأَرْضِ إِلَّا مَنْ شَاءَ اللَّهِ. This verse tells us when the horn is blown into, everything in the universe, فَزِعَ, What's faza'a? When you're stricken with fear. This is called faza' in Arabic. Everything in the universe will be struck with fear. Illa man sha'Allah, except those whom Allah protects. Another verse in the Holy Quran that talks about the sur tells us فَإِذَا نُفِخَ فِي الصُّورِ, when the horn is blown into, فَلَا أَنْسَابَ بَيْنَهُمْ يَوْمَئِذٍ. On that day, your nasab will not help you. What's nasab? Ancestry. Your family ties. You can't rely on your family to save you on the day of judgment if you failed your test. In this world, yes, family ties can be a source of connection and power for you. You can commit a crime, you can violate the law, you can violate the rights of others, but you've got a strong family, they have your back. Not on the day of judgment. That system no longer applies on the day of judgment. You did good in life, you get saved. You didn't, your family is not going to help you. Another verse in the Holy Quran states, وَنُفِخَ فِي الصُّورِ فَإِذَا هُمْ مِنَ الْأَجْدَاثِ إِلَىٰ رَبِّهِمْ يَنْسِلُونَ. And the horn is blown into, you see everyone from their graves moving towards their Lord. قَالُوا يَا وَيْلَنَا مَنْ بَعَثَنَا مِنْ مَرْقَدِنَا هَذَا. Woe unto us! We were resting in our graves. Who caused us to rise from our graves? هَذَا مَا وَعَدَ الرَّحْمَنِ. This is the promise of the Rahman and the messengers. Yes.
Resting in their graves, that means they're not, ما كانوا يتعذبوا in the grave, or what does it mean, resting in the grave?
If you remember from our previous discussions, we said most people will be put to sleep. It's the one who mahad al-iman, who died with full faith, who will get their ajr in barzakh, and the one who died with total disbelief will be punished. But most people in between, they'll be resting. So this could apply to them. Or some people, if they had sins that they were responsible for, Allah will punish them until they expiate for the sin. Once they finish serving the time, as they say, right? Khalas, they'll be put to sleep possibly. So the Quran says, who's the one who caused us to rise? And everything is changing on the day of judgment. So it basically captures big changes that people are not ready for yet. So it comes as a surprise for them. It shocks them. This is for most people. So now when this trumpet is blown into, this causes a ripple effect across the universe. Have you seen normal sound waves? They can cause destruction, like the sonic boom. Sometimes when certain airplanes fly low and they go faster than the speed of sound, they could actually cause physical destruction. It's just a sound wave, but it could break windows, it could break structures. Imagine what this device can do to the universe. It will cause a major disruption to the movement of the universe. Mountains collide, planets collide. We'll talk about that later, inshallah. Chaos, utter chaos in the universe. The universe as we see it today will be destroyed when the Sayha happens. Now someone could argue, why would God do that? What's the wisdom in destroying the universe like that and making planets collide, mountains collide? Why? Why would you do something like that? Any thoughts? Because Allah is wise, of course. He does what He wants, but there's wisdom behind it.
I think it's possible He's setting the stage for
the day of judgment. So what possibly could Allah be demonstrating to His creation?
We're done with materialism and all the materialistic things that are in this world.
You have the right idea. Basically, many people throughout history have denied that Allah is holding the universe together. Mother Nature, coincidence, you name it, whatever. There are people who've rejected the existence of God, and they don't recognize that Allah is the one who put the universe in perfect order. It may be the case that by destroying the organized structure of the universe, and we are resurrected on the day of judgment, we see that. We see the universe in chaos. Basically, Allah is showing us, you have doubts I was in charge? Okay, see the universe now. Utter destruction. If it's not for me every single second giving organization to the universe, don't think it's beautifully organized like that. This may be a powerful way to show creation that Allah was always in charge. Don't have doubts about the role of God in maintaining the universe, because many people have doubted that in history. So this could be one possible reason. Yeah, so basically when the Sayha happens, everyone dies, Allah makes an announcement. Limanul mulkul yawm? Who's king today? Pitch silence in the universe. Allah answers himself. Lillahi al-wahid al-qahar. But some people have objected to this verse. What's the point of that if there's no one to hear it? I've heard some people object to this verse. They're like, what's the point of it if nobody's going to hear it? Everyone's dead. So what's the response?
We have a narration and based on that.
So we'll get to that part. But basically, aside from this first answer, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is just demonstrating to us. See, He's informing us of this. Later when we're resurrected, we will know about this. That Allah is the one who's in charge. No one will be even able to reply to Allah from the dead people. So Allah is basically just capturing to us how He is the king. We don't need to be alive to hear that. The fact that Allah has already told us basically serves the purpose.